Support for the Leadoff on WGLT and WGLT.org comes from the Central Illinois Regional Airport, where travelers are one stop away from world destinations. Connections on Delta Airlines to Atlanta are available daily. Close, convenient, CIRA. More at CIRA.com.
Some counselors with the 988 hotline say there are not enough practices in place to protect them. It's one of the things you need to know to start your day for Tuesday, September 17th. I'm Ryan Denham, and this is WGLT's The Leadoff. Now let's lead off with a drop in enrollment at Heartland Community College, what caused it, and what it could mean for the school's future. Here's WGLT's Eric Stock.
Heartland Community College saw enrollment slip about 1% this year, and total credit hours fell a tad more. It's not much of a drop, but as educators worry about a pending enrollment cliff caused by lower birth rates, it's concerning. Here's Heartland's Vice President of Enrollment, Sarah Deal Hunt.
I think we kind of think of ourselves in Bloomington Normal as being immune to some of those things. We have new employers coming in, but our district obviously goes beyond Bloomington Normal.
And Heartland's district shows a 2% drop in the number of high school graduates, even at a time when the community is growing so fast it can't build enough homes to keep up. Deal Hunt says those employers may also play a role in Heartland's enrollment dip. She says it's possible more college-age adults are going straight into the workforce because the jobs are there and they pay pretty well. That enrollment dip also means less money for the college. Vice President of Finance, Noah Lamb, says that's one of several reasons why the district has had to reduce its budget this year.
It was a collaboration across campus to just see again, okay, where could we just reduce just a little bit on the expenditure side to where we could ensure a balanced budget.
Heartland's proposed budget is down over 9%. Lamb says that's partly because the college has taken care of several big projects in the last year, including the new agriculture complex and its advanced manufacturing center. The Heartland Board votes on the budget tonight. For The Leadoff, I'm Eric Stock.
Here are some other stories we're following in the WGLT newsroom. The trial to determine if the state's assault weapons ban is constitutional got underway yesterday in southern Illinois. A judge there will decide whether outlawing guns like the AR-15 violates the Second Amendment. Midwest Food Bank's new executive director, Mike Swartz, says he's focused on retaining and recruiting volunteers. The North Normal Food Bank has 9,000 volunteers today, but Swartz says the majority are retirement age. And the Illinois State Fair is reporting another year of record attendance. More than 773,000 people went to the 11-day fair this year. That's up 9%. You can find more on these stories at WGLT.org. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline has received north of 10 million calls and texts from people having a mental health emergency. But some of the crisis counselors on the receiving end say they are facing abuse from a small fraction of callers, including verbal and sexual abuse. WGLT's Melissa Ellen reports that some counselors say there are not enough practices in place to protect them. It's even pushed some to quit the job.
What you're about to hear is a voicemail extension that Path Crisis Center in Bloomington uses for abusive contacts who call 988.
At the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, our primary mission is to provide compassionate support and assistance to individuals facing challenging situations. We're informing you that your recent calls have been deemed inappropriate and potentially harassing.
CEO Adam Carter says the voicemail's goal is to prevent crisis counselors from having to take verbal attacks or sexually inappropriate conduct while on the line.
And so if that person is calling in back to back to back, we can then say, phone number 1234567 is on this list for the next 24 hours.
Carter says it's only a small step in solving a larger issue. Abusive contacts like these make up a tiny fraction of calls 988 receives. Millions of calls are often with people in desperate need of help, but the impact of these abusive calls can be detrimental. It's pushed some to quit the job. Crisis counselors at PATH and other call centers across the country say they need more protection.
I'm having terrible flashbacks right now.
That's Lily Lance, who was a crisis counselor at PATH until recently. She describes some of the sexually abusive calls she dealt with.
They would sometimes say things like, "Your voice sounds so good right now. You're making me feel so good right now."
This on a lifeline where Lance helped other callers in the process of taking their own life.
Horrifying. horrifying to hear that.
Crisis counselors cannot hang up until they've confirmed a caller is not at risk of harming themselves. They can't block a number ever because there's a chance even an abusive caller may need the emergency line in the future. Lance's response and the advice Path gave her was to tell people their behavior was not appropriate and threaten to disconnect. But Lance says sexually abusive callers would trap the counselor.
It was especially difficult when they would say that they were suicidal. Whether that was true or not, I can't really say. But they were masturbating on the phone.
Lance works at one of the more than 200 crisis centers that receive 988 calls across the country. They're all managed by the nonprofit Vibrant Emotional Health. Vibrant has its own guidance on addressing abusive callers. It leaves implementation up to individual crisis centers. Shai Lewis, a VP at Vibrant, says that's intentional.
They have different makeups of different populations, different cultures, different expectations, different resources that are available. All of those things make them unique. There's, 200 different ways of doing things.
That's why Path has its voicemail policy. But patchwork implementation across centers leaves other counselors feeling unsupported. In Colorado, 6 ex-counselors are suing the state's former 988 crisis center in federal court. They say they were never told to hang up if calls got abusive. The crisis center denies that. Call centers across the country have an incentive to find a solution, but they say it's hard without ramifications to deter abusers. Take the other emergency number, 911. They too get abusive calls.
Because we can determine right where the caller is calling from or who's calling us, and they're not going to call if they know that we're going to find out.
And local and state laws make sure that there are legal ramifications for people who repeatedly misuse 911. None of that exists for 988. Still, former crisis counselor Lily Land says the abusive contacts never outshine the importance of the work 988 does. But
we're losing good people because of the emotional toll.
Lance says it's about sustainability of the crisis lifeline. For WGLT, I'm Melissa Ellen.
Melissa covers mental health as a Report for America Corps member. Report for America places journalists in local newsrooms across the country to cover underreported topics.
Support for WGLT mental health coverage comes from Report for America and Chestnut Health Systems, caring for the community's physical and mental health and celebrating 50 years of service.
And that's it for today. I'm Ryan Denham. The show is produced by Rosalie Truback. You can subscribe to The Leadoff on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.